Two great bands, one from Australia, one from England, are about to duke it out over who has the best album of one year. How's it going, old schoolers? You are kicking it old school. I'm with your host, Russell JS, and I'm your host, Russell JS. So on Kicking It Old School, I'm going to do a battle royale. It's going to be Black Sabbath versus AC/DC. Two of the greatest in hard rock mythos there are. Now the thing is, you see, way back when, you see, heavy metal became, the 70s gave birth to heavy metal, the 60s and the 70s, after Jimi Hendrix and after Led Zeppelin had discovered all these different sounds to do with, with music, mixing blues and jazz and everything. More bands piled out of the woodwork during the period between 1970 to 1979. Bands would form out, like you would, in England, you would get Sabbath, you'd get Deep Purple, you would get UFO. America was Blue Oyster Cult, Grand Funk Railroad, Ted Nugent, Kiss, Van Halen, and Canada, of course, had Rush and April Wine. But two albums, I'm going to do a versus track by track. Okay, you have AC/DC Powerage, which is one of my two favorite albums by AC/DC. This is actually my favorite AC/DC record during the Bon Scott era, where my favorite Brian Johnson record would be The Razor's Edge from 1990. And then you've got Black Sabbath, Never Say Die, which would be the last studio album of original music Sabbath would do with singer Ozzy Osbourne. And what I want to do is basically go ahead, before we get started, if you're new to the channel, please hit a like, subscribe, leave a comment in the box down below, and share this video content with your friends, and let's get let's build this channel up. I mean, I got 46 subscribers right now. I'm trying to build it up, but it's even gotten more difficult because I do work two jobs, and don't mind me, I just got out of the shower. And yeah, I need to color my hair sometime in the near future. But, it's going to help out a lot. Okay? And I'm going to keep putting out content, not just with Kicking It Old School, but the weekly Narc as well, which I've still got to do a video for that. All right, without further ado, let's check these bad Oscars out, shall we? Okay, here we go. Gimme a Bullet off Powerage versus Never Say Die by Black Sabbath. Now, AC/DC, they, for many years since their beginning, has kept that raw rock sound, like real sleazy, Angus, being the devilish little schoolboy on that SG guitar, and, either Bon Scott or Brian Johnson wailing out a real raspy, Bon Scott just wailing out that high note of, blues-based rock, heavier rock. Brian Johnson sounding as if he just gargled boiling motor oil. Still, like that, like he's in pain, but still giving it his all. Versus Never Say Die, the title track for Black Sabbath, Never Say Die. Well, just by looking at things to listen to this album, it's, I have to say, please don't bring any hate my way. All you fellow Sabbath fans out there, don't bring hatred towards me. Nothing. In many ways, this song, it's almost as if seemingly the guys in Sabbath were getting lazy. And, just the way this song sounds, I get it. They're trying to get a more mature sound. Their audience was growing up, and they were getting, and their audience were looking elsewhere, but they had to do something to keep a following, get the next following going. But, I guess they're trying to say, we're not going to stop, we're not going to give up. But it's just very, very lazy. So, 1 point AC/DC for Give Me a Bullet. Now, Down Payment Blues versus Johnny Blade. AC/DC is still doing their thing. All guitar, all bass, all drums, all wailing vocals. And this song right here, Johnny Blade, it starts out with synthesizers, almost like pop synth. And I'm thinking to myself, no, why couldn't they go back to that sound, of those first 5 records, Black Sabbath self-titled, Paranoid, Master of Reality Volume 4, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Because it's like, they started, with all the excesses going on, like groupies, drugs, booze, sex, money, it's like they got lazy over a period of time. And the only thing you had to worry about with AC/DC was how many bottles of beer were going to be consumed on the tour bus or backstage or in the studio. But still, they got the guts to get in and put out an album of musical greatness. So yeah, Johnny Blade, it's very lazy. So 2 points for AC/DC. All right, number 3, Gone Shootin' versus Junior's Eyes. Now, Gone Shootin', I can remember, it's funny because I can remember I went to go see Beavis and Butthead do America at the theater, and they were playing Gone Shootin'. I almost forgot about that song. They were playing, that's one of my favorite tunes by AC/DC. Just that riff. Dun, 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 banana. It's like, oh yeah, there's AC/DC right there. That kick, that musical kick in the gut with Bon Scott wailing. And Junior's Eyes, I have to say, I gotta give, this is a tie right here, because this does sound like early Sabbath. Just that beginning intro that with the bass and the, it's like, it's almost like a track that was left behind from Paranoid or Master of Reality. So yeah, 3 points AC/DC, 1 point Never Say, Black Sabbath. Riff Raff versus A Hard Road. Once again, AC/DC, it's like they're proving that they're like more punk than punk rock. Like that whole don't mess with me kind of attitude. Versus A Hard Road. That song, the way Ozzy is, the way the lyrics are, and the way Ozzy sounds like Skeletor whining and complaining about Beastman and Trapjaw and Triclops and Merman getting once again defeated by He-Man, and he's whining about it. This is going to be a long road to Castle Grayskull. But, it's almost like Sabbath is making up an excuse, why they sound so sloppy. And, it's like AC/DC right here, they're kicking it. They're killing it. So 4 points AC/DC, 1 point Sabbath. All right. Now, Sin City versus Shockwave. Well, Sin City is this is the big hit on this album. Just that intro riff. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na. And then it comes out with that dun 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 dun. I could see why Angus and Malcolm were major influences on a lot of artists like Metallica and Pantera and Anthrax, and all the other metal bands of the 80s to come out. I mean, I can imagine this album right here was on the turntables of Slash, you know, when they were teenagers, Slash and Tommy Lee, Nikki Sixx, Dimebag Darrell, Kirk Hammett. You know, this was probably a big time on their turntables when they were kids back in the 70s. And, you know, there they are singing about the raw, you know, the rawness of living in sin. And Shockwave, again, that sounds like another early Sabbath recording, another song by Sabbath that was not released, that was written maybe during the era of self-titled debut to Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. But yeah, so 2 points, so that's 5 points AC/DC, 2 points Black Sabbath. Up to My Neck in You versus Air Dance. You know, like, ooh, yes, once again, I mean, AC/DC is kicking butt right now. I mean, you remember my last video? Oh, yeah, I'll have to go back to that video. I don't remember it, but when I did AC/DC Live versus Kiss Alive 3, I'll have to go back. I don't remember. And if Kiss won that competition over AC/DC, I apologize in advance, okay? So that way you don't beat me up too much in the comments section. But, you know, once again, AC/DC's raw power and that, like, you know, oh, God. You know, it's like, you know, I'm sorry, but AC/DC 6 points and Air Dance. This is, all right, classical piano in Sabbath. Classical piano in Black Sabbath. And synthesizers. Yeah. 6 points AC/DC, 2 points Sabbath. Next, What's Next to the Moon versus Over to You. Again, you know, like, AC/DC doing their thing, I love. I mean, this is how much, I mean, I'm surprised that I haven't worn this out yet. This, my vinyl copy of Powerage. I'm surprised I didn't wear this out. I mean, you know, like, I don't know what it is about AC/DC. It's like they were taking the formula of the early formula of bands like Black Sabbath and Zeppelin and Hendrix and The Who and just slapping it on a vinyl platter and dropping the needle on it when it's on the turntable. And later, like, these older bands, I guess they feel like, you know, in their minds, they're maturing, you know, because they think they're on top of the world because they're guzzling the booze and tooting and smoking the drugs. But no. No. I mean, Over to You, you know, again. Well, you know what? I'll have to say, yeah, I'm going to have to say 7 points AC/DC, 3 points Black Sabbath. Boy, you know, Sabbath, they better really start impressing me more and impressing all of us more if they're going to beat this album. Next track, Cold Hearted Man versus Breakout. Now, you know, like, yeah, let me put it this way. Breakout is just an instrumental with, you know, with Tony Geezer and Bill Ward just doing an instrumental with a horn section. They sound like the Saturday Night Live band gone heavy metal, okay? The Saturday, just, I mean, picture the Saturday Night Live band, okay? You know, it's got a lot of rhythm and blues and jazz to it. with heavy metal guitar, bass, and drums. That's what that sounds like. It's awful. I mean, it's almost like a cross between this. It's almost as if Frank Zappa is leading the Saturday Night Live band. That's what it sounds like. And then kicked in the teeth versus swinging the chain. You know what? So far, 9 points AC/DC and 3 points Black Sabbath. Now, we got to go over the producers and engineers of these albums. Powerage was produced by Angus and Malcolm's older brother, George, who played in a band called the Easy Beats that had, back in the 60s, that had a #1 hit with Friday on My Mind, and his partner, Henry Vanda. And, they did good work together. George Young with his little brothers. And, just listen to the previous recordings before this, like Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, Let There Be Rock, and High Voltage. Go back to those albums and then listen to this one. And you hear the magic there. It's family dynamics right there, brotherly love. These first four AC/DC record albums were produced with love, from an older brother to the founding members of the band. And Never Say Die was it's noted as produced by Black Sabbath. So really, Ozzy wouldn't know a thing or two about recording albums, and producing at that point, because he was so far into the drugs and alcohol. And, I'd say it was either Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, or both of them that actually recorded it. Let's face it, Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler are Black Sabbath. It doesn't matter who's on the drums or who's on the vocals. They are Sabbath. And if either one of these guys or both of them at the same time were the producers of this, I have to say it's a decent album. It's not their greatest. They've done better. But I can kind of get it, looking back at the documentaries. They were lazy. By 78, they were kind of lazy. They knew that change had to come. That's why Ozzy was asked to leave the band and be replaced by Ronnie James Dio. But one thing I have to say, I'm not going to say the album sucks. I'm not going to say it's terrible. Because when you think about it, I'm happy that this came out. I'm going to give it a 4th point. So this album has 4 points. And after I get done here explaining, this album has 4 points. While AC/DC, Powerage, I'm giving this album a full 10 points. Black Sabbath, Never Say Die, 4 points. I'm not going to, and the reason why I'm not going to say it sucks, but that it's decent, is I get it. In those days, like a lot of times in the late 70s, rock stars, you had the disco menace, sweeping the world off its feet and dancing. And, drugs and booze were accessible, and, they all had hanger-ons telling them how great they are, like how they're better than, one band member is being told that he's better than the other band members, or the other band members are told, hey, you're better than that guy, by the late 1970s and the early 1980s, excess was a total mess. And, I not only want to say thank God for this album, because this album, like I said, it's decent, it's okay. I gave it 4 points. And, that's its score, 4 points. But you know what? if it hadn't, I think if it hadn't been for this record, we wouldn't know Ozzy Osbourne as the solo artist he is today. We probably never would have heard of Randy Rhoads. We never would have heard, we wouldn't have heard of Jake E. Lee. Lee here. I want to say thank God for this album. Thank God for Ronnie James Dio. Thank God for Sharon Osbourne, Randy Rhoads, Lee Kerslake, Bob Daisley, Jake E. Lee, and I forgot what the one bass player's name was from Quiet Riot. Somebody help me. I'm kind of brain farting. His name is on the tip of my tongue because I know he played in Quiet Riot, and he briefly played in Blue Oyster Cult, back in the early 2010s. But, thank God for Robert Trujillo, and Zakk Wylde, because we would, I think Sabbath would have been history. Ozzy would have been, let's face it, Ozzy Osbourne was heavy metal's answer to John Belushi. He probably would have been John Belushi's wake-up call, where John Belushi would still be alive. I mean, death is not fun, but, I'm just saying, I think this album was probably a wake-up call to everybody involved in Sabbath. But yeah. So, AC/DC wins this competition against Black Sabbath, a band that was doing it while AC/DC were learning how to cut their teeth in keg parties and, backyard barbecue parties, school dances, things like that. But yeah. To me, Powerage is the awesomest album of these two. And, I'm sorry, but Never Say Die, Black Sabbath, they've done better. But you know what? The next year, Ozzy Osbourne, like I said, would be asked to part company with Black Sabbath. And then he would hook up with his manager's daughter, who would help him get his life back on track. And they would end up meeting a guitar riffing, soloing genius. That would be the jump start of Ozzy Osbourne's career. And at the same time, Black Sabbath would also see a changing in their lives as they have a big comeback. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Again, like I said, I'm going to pull my hair up. If you are new to the channel, feel free to hit a like, hit a subscribe, leave a comment in the box below. Also, ring the notification bell, for more content. And there's going to be more to come. I still got to prep for a weekly NARC video. I've been so busy lately that I'm probably going to be doing a twofer for the weekly NARC. But this is your old pal, Russell JS. I want to wish you all, I just want you, keep it real, keep it chill, keep it fresh, keep it awesome. Get you enough of anything, love, peace, no drama. Get you enough. And I also, most importantly, as always, I want to sign off with wishing you all Godspeed. May the Force be with you always.